Hello, BookTube. Hello, friends. Welcome to Lizziefaye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth. And if you haven't heard by now, I recently completed or wrapped up a 3-month-long reading/watching challenge that I co-hosted with Mitzi from Mitzi Reads and Writes called the Montgomery Challenge. And it was basically a challenge to read anything by or about or related to Lucy Maud Montgomery, and especially to encourage people to look outside the box of Anne of Green Gables, because Anne of Green Gables is a well-known, beloved classic for a good reason, but some people stop there and they don't continue on and explore the world of Lucy Maud Montgomery and all of the wonderful things that there are to read and watch. And so that challenge was simply to perpetuate, maybe get people interested and encourage people, motivate people to continue to read more and to read books about Lucy Maud Montgomery. So we have done some live streams, we did some giveaways, and if you were one of the winners of one of the giveaways, your item will be on the way very shortly. Also had a 9-prompt challenge board or bingo board where you could just, check off the different categories of things that you could read, things that you could watch, or either, and it was just a lot of fun. And I have created a playlist. As of this moment, it has 10 videos, and when I add this one, it'll be 11, but I will probably go ahead and add the 2 live streams on Mitzi's channel, so that everything that had to do with this challenge will be all in one playlist, or at least all the videos that I had something to do with. So if you have not checked them out, I hope you will. And I did a video that related to each one of the prompts. And so this is just going to kind of be a wrap up of what I read and what I watched in the month of November, and then an overall summary of everything. And then at the end of the video, I want to show you a few books that I would consider collectible, things that are more unusual, and a couple of items that are not books. Basically, it's my Anne of Green Gables, Lucy Maud Montgomery collection, other than the stuff I've already shown you in other videos. Now, I did show my collection of short stories, or my collection of short story collections, and my standalone books and my series books and all of that. I showed those as I read them and as I talked about them. But I've got a few other odds and ends that I want to show you today. So if you don't care about my wrap-up and you want to skip to the end of the video and see my collection, you are more than welcome to do that. And I might do some timestamps in the description. But anyway, let me just sort of give a wrap-up or a summary of what I read. So let me first do the overall summary, and then I will show you the books that I read in the month of November. So altogether, for the 3 months, September, October, and November, I read or listened to a total of 33 books for this challenge. 23 of them were on audio, 10 of them were in print, and 22 of them were rereads. Most of the rereads were audio. There were a couple of print books that I reread for some of the various challenges and things like that. We also had a group read, and one of those was a reread for me, things like that. But altogether, 33 books. Now, I also watched a lot of things. I watched a season and a half of Emily of New Moon. Now, I did not rewatch season 1, but when I started this challenge, I was somewhere in the middle of season 2, or maybe barely into season 2. So I started at the beginning of season 2, and I got about halfway through season 3. So there's still another season and a half to finish that I have not watched at all. I also watched Lantern Hill, which is an adaptation, a movie adaptation of Jane of Lantern Hill. And I rewatched the pilot of the TV series Road to Avonlea. That is a 7-series show, and I have not watched, I don't think I've watched anything past season 1, and I may have not watched all of season 1, but I own it, and I own season 2 and 3, and at some point I want to go through all of them. I had really thought I would get through at least 3 seasons, but there was just so much to read, so much to do, and I just couldn't get to them all. So it's still something for me to look forward to in the future. And then I watched a lot of Anne adaptations. Now, the one that most people think about, starring Megan Follows, I only watched part of that one again with my daughter Emily. I had put it on in her VCR, literally her VCR in her room, and watched part of it with her, but I did not go ahead and watch all of it. It wasn't very long ago that I sat down in her room and we watched all three of those, maybe within this past year. But I did watch and rewatch all three of the PBS movies starring Ella Ballantyne and Martin Sheen. I had seen at least the first one of those before, and so I watched all three of those. And I rewatched the first episode of Anne with an E, and some clips of a lot of older things, the movie from 1934, and also Anne of Winnie Poplars from 1940, and some of the clips that still exist for the BBC Anne of Avonlea series from the 1970s. And all of those things I talked about in a video about all of the adaptations of Lucy Maud Montgomery books. So I'll put that link to that video right here. And also, of course, the whole playlist will be on the end screen and probably in the description. So if you want to check out any of those that you might have missed, I hope that you will. So anyway, now let's go back to just this past month, because I did do a wrap up of September and a wrap up of October, and then we did live streams either on my channel or Mitzi's channel, and we talked about our favorites and things. Now we asked the question, what were your favorites, on Mitzi's live stream that we did to sort of wrap up the event right after the end of November. And looking back on everything I read over the last 3 months and everything that I watched and all of that, what I think what I said was my favorite for November is really my favorite for the whole 3 months. And that is the Anne of Green Gables devotional by Rachel Dodge. This has just opened me up to a whole bunch of devotional books by Rachel Dodge. Well, when I say a whole bunch, I think there's 3. And I'm hoping there's going to be more. But there's one for The Secret Garden, there's one for Jane Austen, and there's one for Little Women. And I'm just super excited to look into getting more books by her and reading them. This was fantastic. The artwork is done by Jana Christie, and it's just fantastic. Each of the devotions is just very well written. There is a devotion for each of the 38 chapters in Anne of Green Gables, as well as 2 more at the end to sort of wrap things up. This is a book I would definitely read again, and it was my favorite discovery, as well as my favorite thing that I read over the whole 3 months. Now, that's not to say that I don't love all the other things I read. Well, I don't love all the other things I read, but all of the rereads, all of the books by Lucy Maud Montgomery are just wonderful, and I'm so glad that I revisited those. I reread a lot of Lucy Maud Montgomery books. I reread all of her series books except one. I read the 8 Anne of Green Gables books, the whole Emily of New Moon trilogy, the Story Girl duology, and then the first book in the Pat of Silverbush duology, and I am finishing up a reread of Mistress Pat right now. I listened to most of it on audio on YouTube, but several of the last few chapters were missing, so I am finishing those up at this moment. I have about 50 pages left to read, and I've just thoroughly enjoyed all of those books. I also reread 4 short story collections, and I also listened to one of the chronological short story collections, which included a few of the stories that I've listened to or read from the categorical collections, but I do want to go ahead and just continue reading the chronological order of her short stories now that I've gotten started with that project. I did reread 2 of her 5 standalone novels. Now, I reread The Blue Castle and Jane of Lantern Hill, but I did not reread Kilmeny of the Orchard during this challenge because it was within the last year or year and a half, I think, that I reread that one. So that just left Magic from Marigold and A Tangled Web. I have reread A Tangled Web at some point, and I have not ever reread Magic from Marigold, but both of those are books that I would love to reread at some point in the future. So then I read 6 books that are related to Lucy Maud Montgomery in some way, and then another 6 books that are either nonfiction or biographical. Now, 2 of the biographical books are fictionalized, but still fit under the umbrella of biographical or nonfiction. And so that adds up to 33 books. Now, I said I didn't love everything. I did have one DNF. One book I did not finish on purpose. I chose not to finish it because I didn't want to, and I will get to that one in a little while. But meanwhile, let me just get back to what I read in the month of November. So I've already shown you the Anne of Green Gables devotional. The other nonfiction books that I read, one of them is Looking for Anne of Green Gables by Irene Gamble. This was a very good book to read alongside the fictionalized biographical book Maud by Melanie J. Fishbane. I enjoyed both of these very much. This is more about the young life of Maud, and this is more about her adult writing life, but still some of the same people, friends, and family are mentioned in both books. And reading one in conjunction with the other was very helpful for just solidifying who the other people were in her life, her family and friends and things like that. And I was really glad that I was able to read those at the same time. And then 2 other books that are related to Anne of Green Gables. One of them is Marilla of Green Gables by Sarah McCoy. I had not ever read this before. I did listen to it on audio, even though one of my subscribers, Debbie Faust, sent me this beautiful hardcover copy of this book that I will cherish always. Debbie, if you're watching this, thank you again so much for that. And then I reread Before Green Gables by Budge Wilson. Now, this is considered to be the prequel of Anne of Green Gables, so you could consider it part of the Anne of Green Gables series. It was commissioned by the heirs of Lucy Maud Montgomery to be written and to be a part of the series, but it does not necessarily coincide with everything else that you may have read that is related to or inspired by Anne of Green Gables. For instance, there is a movie that I mentioned in the adaptations video called Anne of Green Gables, A New Beginning, and it has a dual timeline. And I didn't get to watch that whole movie, but it looks like that the younger Anne, that is also a prequel Anne to where the series starts, does not line up exactly with this book. And I don't know if that movie was sanctioned by the heirs of Lucy Maud Montgomery or not, but it was filmed by Sullivan Entertainment, who has done a lot of the adaptations. So I don't know how all that works, but anyway, it just looked like that it didn't line up exactly with this book. But, you know, as long as you take each book and adaptation as its individual piece of literature or art, then you can just appreciate each one for what it is. So then my other rereads, I mentioned Pat of Silverbush, and I'm reading the sequel to it right now. And also I read The Story Girl, which I don't have a physical copy of, but I'll put a picture here. And then its sequel, The Golden Road. Very much enjoyed these. So these 2 books is what the TV show Road to Avonlea is based on. Although you will find, if you watch episodes from that series, there are some storylines that are pulled from other Lucy Maud Montgomery novels and short stories. And then the short story collection that I listened to in the month of November is one of the chronological collections. I believe it's the first one, and it contains stories from, I believe, 1896 to 1901. If I'm wrong, it should say it right here in this picture. I listened to that on audio. I can't remember if I listened to it on Scribd or Hoopla, but I did recognize a few of the stories that I have read in other collections. but the collections have been packaged and repackaged in a couple of different ways. There are the category collections, such as this one, Against the Odds, and then there is the chronological collections that they are grouped in the years that they were either originally written or originally published. And so I have read all of the category collections, so now I do want to go ahead and read all of the chronological collections. So that's everything I finished reading in the month of November that had to do with this challenge. Now, I mentioned that I didn't love everything. I think I may have already mentioned that I did DNF one book. And this is a book that is related to Anne of Green Gables. It is supposed to be a retelling, a very modern and not so cozy retelling, in my opinion, and I chose not to finish Anne of Manhattan. This is by Brina Starler, and I got through 2 chapters of this. Right at the end of the 2nd chapter, when Gilbert said the F word, that was just over the top for me. There was already drinking and various other things going on in the story that I just felt like was so out of character for Anne of Green Gables, and I just had no desire to finish this book. So if you've ever tried this one and you had similar feelings, then let me know in the comments. If you tried it and liked it, I know one of my subscribers commented in our group that she read it and enjoyed it, and you know, that is fine. It is just not to my taste. Now, I did read a couple of other retellings that I liked better. I read Anna of California. This is by Andy Terran, and I did like this one somewhat, but my favorite retelling that I read was a library book. I read it in the month of September, and it's Anne of West Philly. This was adorable. It had the charm and the old-fashioned sense that is really how I want Anne of Green Gables to stay, and I did really enjoy it very much. Even though it was modern, it was set in modern day, in an urban setting, it was very good and very well done, and I would highly recommend that one. And, I'll put the author's name here because I don't trust my memory on that one, but check it out, see if your library has it. It was just published in 2022, so it is fairly new. Okay, so that kind of wraps up everything for the challenge, except that I still want to show you a few of the things that I've collected over the years that may be of interest to you if you are a Lucy Maud Montgomery fan like I am. Now, a few of these books I've already shown in live streams, but I'm going to show them again here. I have 2 of the Anne of Green Gables Treasuries by Carolyn Strom Collins and Christina Weiss Erickson. It could be Weiss Erickson, but I'm not sure. And so this one you have probably seen before because I had a duplicate copy, which was one of the giveaways that I did at the end of the challenge. And also I bought an extra copy on eBay to send to my co-host Mitzi, and she said that it was her favorite book from the challenge. This is just a beautiful book. It's a companion to Anne of Green Gables, and it just has some beautiful artwork and craft projects and recipes, and it is really a wonderful book. So the same ladies also did the Anne of Green Gables Christmas Treasury, also a beautiful book, and it is Christmas themed. So if you have a chance ever to get your hands on it, I would recommend, well, really either of these. And then I'm not sure if this one was done by the same people, but this is a date book. It's called the Anne of Green Gables Treasury of Days. It is made so that you could write in it, but I don't think I will ever write in it. It has some artwork and basically just goes through the calendar and has some various things written in it. I don't think I've ever actually read this one from cover to cover. I should do that. I didn't even think about it during this challenge. Now, this one I don't know that I had read previous to the challenge, but I did read this one during the challenge. The other 2 treasuries I have read cover to cover, both of these in the past, but I did not reread them. Anyway, this is Spirit of Place, Lucy Maud Montgomery, and Prince Edward Island, and it's basically a book of photography and quotes, and it is beautiful. It's photographs of places around Prince Edward Island, and they are paired with quotes from Lucy Maud Montgomery's journals and her correspondence, and it is a beautiful book. I'm happy to have it. So, just in looking through all of the books that I've shown for one reason or another, because I've read them or reread them over the last 3 months, I realized that I didn't really talk about this series. Now, this is a series of novellas or novelizations, really, of various episodes from Road to Avonlea. And the people who are on the covers are the stars of the show. I only have these two. I used to have a few others, and I think I let them go a long time ago when I was trying not to be a hoarder. And I don't know, I might have even donated them to a library or sold them at a yard sale. I don't know, but then I started kind of regretting that, and I have recently found books 1 and 2 and decided to go ahead and grab them. But I also have a couple of others that, again, I've never written in. I have the Anne of Green Gables birthday book. I think I got both of these at probably at a library sale. And the Anne of Green Gables address book. I probably won't ever write in these, but I'll just show you the inside. And they are just basically what they say they are, Anne of Green Gables themed books. And here's the address book. I don't think there's any writing in them from a previous owner. Anyway, they're really cute. Okay, then I have 4 old hardcovers. I would consider these collectible. I think most of these were given to me. I may have found a couple of them at thrift stores or whatever, but I only remember exactly where I got one of them, and it was a gift. But this is one of the oldest ones. I actually have 2 copies of The Golden Road. I don't know if you can see the printing there. This was published, let's see. This one was published in 1913 by the Page Company, which was the original publisher, Lucy Maud Montgomery's original publisher. But it does say here, in this little part here, that novels of L.M. Montgomery, each one volume, cloth decorative, illustrated, $2. And at this point, the 4 Avonlea books, Anne of Green Gables, a new edition, Anne of Avonlea, Chronicles of Avonlea, and Anne of the Island were available. And then other novels, Kilmeny of the Orchard, The Story Girl, and The Golden Road, from the L.C. Page Company, 53 Beacon Street, Boston, Massachusetts. So I don't know if you are aware that Anne of Green Gables was not originally published in Canada. It was published in Boston by the L.C. Page Company. And eventually, after publishing several books with them, she did sever ties with them and move to a different publisher. But this one is the 7th impression. So it actually was not printed in 1913. It was printed August 1926. So here's the page there. I don't know if this one has illustrations or not. I don't think it does. No, it doesn't. But anyway, I'm excited to have it. Now, I mentioned that I have 2 copies of The Golden Road. The other one I have was given to me by a former librarian who liked to go to estate sales. And she not only found this book for me, which we originally thought was a first edition, but it's not. It is a reprint of the first Canadian edition of The Golden Road. It says this book was originally copyrighted in 1910 by L.C. Page, but this is the first Canadian edition that was originally published in September of 1944, and this is the 5th printing of that from 1967. So just to show you what that looks like. And so while I'm on the subject of the wonderful librarian who gave me this book, I think she said she paid $1 for this at an estate sale. She also gave me 2 Anne of Green Gables dolls that I believe she said she got for $1 each at an estate sale. And these used to sit in my daughter's room when they shared a room. And they never, really got interested in Anne of Green Gables. And so eventually I have packed these away, so I had to go dig them out of a box. I just looked them up to see if they were maybe worth selling. They're not super valuable, maybe someday, but they do have porcelain heads and hands and feet, And this one is missing her hat. I did look them up on eBay to see. One like this sold for almost $30 in the last 90 days, but she had a hat. Anyway, they are done by, I don't know if you can see this here. It is printed here, Yvonne, I think it's Yvonne Richardson in 1989. And it does say here it's imprinted Anne of Green Gables, so you can definitely see that they are supposed to be Anne of Green Gables. This one is missing her hair ribbons. I'm going to have to try to replace those. And then this one, there was one of these listed on eBay for about $40, but not one that has sold recently. So anyway, I always kind of like this one better in her dress with puff sleeves. But anyway, I was very appreciative that she gave me those, because she was the librarian who was our head librarian at the time I was originally reading all the Lucy Maud Montgomery books. And so she knew that I was going through every book that the library had, and then what they didn't have, I was requesting through interlibrary loan, and she was well aware of my fandom of Lucy Maud Montgomery. So I've got two other books that I don't remember where I got them from. I think this is the oldest of all of these books. This is Anne's House of Dreams, and it was also published by Elsie Page, and it's got an inscription. I wish it had a year. Somebody, a bookseller, wrote $1 up there, but anyway, this inscription says, "To Lorna, with best wishes for a Merry Xmas and Happy New Year from Uncle K," the initial K, "and Aunt Evie." And this one here that I already showed you also has an inscription, and I must have gotten these from the same place, because this one says Lorna from Madeline, and it says Christmas of 1929. So that's where this one came from. So I probably got these from the same source. Anyway, Anne's House of Dreams, I'll just show you. It's mainly just the front that has anything to see. It is published by McClellan and Stewart, Toronto, copyright 1922. So, and it does not have illustrations either. But anyway, I am very excited to have this. And then the last one that I'll show you is Jane of Lantern Hill. This has a plastic cover over it, which I'm going to leave. A lot of times when I get stuff from library sales, I take off the plastic covers. This one I'm leaving on because it's really just a protective cover. It doesn't have any library stamps. This one was also published by McClellan and Stewart, Toronto, and its copyright is Canada 1937. So, again, very excited to have this. Now, on the back here, this says the Cavendish Library. I'm pretty sure that is the house that is considered to be Green Gables, and this is a listing of the books that are available at the time that this was printed. So, anyway, very excited about this one. So that's my collection, and that's a wrap-up of everything I read and watched for the More Montgomery Challenge. I hope you'll check out the rest of my playlist. Be sure to leave me some comments down below if you have been inspired to read or watch more things, and let's just chat in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, and by the way, I should mention that on the live stream that we did on Mitzi's channel, people were asking if we were going to do this again. And the answer is no, I don't plan to do another 3-month-long challenge, at least not in this decade. But we did talk about possibly having a week-long readathon, maybe the last week of November of next year. If you don't know, Lucy Maud Montgomery's birthday was November 30th, so perhaps we will have some kind of a week-long readathon during that week going forward, maybe annually. We'll see how it goes. And during that time, then you could, of course, read or watch anything to do with Lucy Maud Montgomery, and especially I want to encourage you to read all the books by her and all the short stories. They are wonderful. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.